All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're tackling one of the biggest, most critical issues shaping our world, the high-stakes relationship between Russia and NATO. This is a standoff that is literally redrawing the map of global security as we speak.
You know, for decades, Europe had this long period of relative peace. But that balance? It's been completely shattered. The continent is now facing a brand new reality, one defined by sky-high tension and, frankly, the return of major war. And the question everyone is asking is, are we looking at a new Cold War, or maybe something even more unpredictable?
So how did we get here, right? How did that post-Cold War dream of a peaceful, united Europe just fall apart so spectacularly? To really get that, we need to wind the clock back a bit.
Look, this crisis did not just appear out of nowhere in 2022. Not at all. It's the result of decades of decisions, deep-seated grievances, and two totally clashing visions for the future of Europe.
It all really starts in 1991. The Soviet Union falls apart, and there's this huge sense of hope. But pretty quickly, you see former Soviet bloc countries like Poland and Hungary rushing to join NATO for their own security. From Russia's perspective, this looked like a betrayal, like this military alliance was just creeping right up to its border. And that feeling of being boxed in just grew and grew. The real turning point, though, was 2007, when Vladimir Putin basically drew a line in the sand saying NATO expansion was a direct threat. From there, you get the annexation of Crimea in 2014, and then, of course, the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022.
And listen to this quote. This was said all the way back in 2007, a full 15 years before the war in Ukraine. It just perfectly sums up the long-held view from Moscow, that NATO wasn't a defensive club, but an aggressive project to sideline Russia. That speech really marked the moment things shifted from a shaky partnership to open confrontation.
The 2022 invasion was, well, it was a seismic event. It wasn't just an attack on Ukraine. It felt like an attack on the entire security system Europe had built. It forced everyone to completely rethink their strategies, and we are still living with the consequences of that today.
And here you see one of the most incredible and frankly ironic results of that invasion. In trying to stop NATO from getting bigger, Moscow's actions directly pushed Finland to join the alliance, which added over 1,300 kilometers to the border Russia now shares with NATO. Just think about that.
Another huge shift happened in Germany. For years, Germany's whole strategy was built on close economic ties with Russia. The idea was that trade would prevent conflict. Well, the invasion just blew that idea to pieces. This number, 100 billion euros, is a symbol of a massive historic U-turn. It's a new funds to overhaul a military that had been pretty cautious since the end of World War II.
So when you zoom out, Russia's invasion pretty much achieved the exact opposite of its goals. Instead of a divided and weakened NATO, you got a massive, unified response. Finland and Sweden dropped decades of neutrality to join. Billions in aid started pouring into Ukraine, and NATO forces on that eastern flank were seriously beefed up. The alliance, which some people thought was losing its way, suddenly had a very clear and powerful new purpose.
Okay, so this new reality has thrown two fundamentally different strategies into the spotlight. On one side, you have NATO's idea of a collective shield, and on the other, you have Russia's modern playbook, which, let me tell you, goes way beyond the traditional battlefield. Let's break these down.
At the absolute core of NATO is this single, incredibly powerful promise, Article 5. It's the ultimate security guarantee. It means that if someone attacks, say, Estonia or Poland, it's considered an attack on the United States, on France, on Germany, on everyone. You mess with one, you mess with all of them. That's the bedrock of the entire alliance. And this, right here, is the heart of the matter. NATO's goal is fundamentally defensive. Protect its members, period. Russia's goal is revisionist. It wants to reclaim what it sees as its rightful sphere of influence and literally reshape the global order. It's the collision of these two worldviews that is defining everything right now.
Now, to push for its goals, Russia uses a strategy that's known as hybrid warfare. This is not just about tanks and soldiers. It's a multi-front assault. The idea is to weaken an enemy from the inside out, to create chaos and division without necessarily firing a shot that would trigger a big military response like Article 5.
So, what does this actually look like in the real world? We're talking about cyber attacks that could take down a country's power grid, or disinformation campaigns on social media designed to create chaos during an election. It's using energy supplies like natural gas as a political weapon. It even includes using deniable private military groups to do a government's dirty work. It's a very modern, very complex, and very dangerous way to wage conflict.
So where does this all go from here? The reality is we've entered a new and much more dangerous chapter. The old rulebook is kind of being torn up, and there's a whole new set of threats and challenges popping up on the horizon that both sides have to figure out how to handle.
And honestly, the list of what's coming is daunting. You've got the immediate risk of one side miscalculating and causing this whole thing to escalate. The arms control treaties that kept the Cold War from turning hot, they're falling apart. At the same time, crazy new technologies like AI and hypersonic weapons are changing the face of war. And that's not even counting the internal challenges for NATO. I mean, can 32 different democracies stay on the same page? Especially with politics constantly shifting in key countries like the US?
And all of this leaves us with this final, really heavy question. In a world of hybrid warfare, crumbling treaties, and insane new tech, the old certainties are just gone. Protecting ourselves, ensuring stability, it now takes a constant, incredibly expensive, and complex effort. And it forces every nation to ask itself, what is the true price of security, and what does it really mean to be safe in the 21st century?